Hi, I'm Lisa Singer. I am the Senior Director of Events Programming at MediaPost, and this is Brand Insider BTS, where I get to talk to some of the most influential women marketers today. And with me is Stephanie Hoppe. She is the CMO of Cicis Pizza. Hey, Stephanie.
Hey, Miss Lisa, it's Stephanie Hoppe.
Oh, Hoppe. Okay, we will do that again.
Yeah, we can just start over.
I probably pronounced it wrong then at the event.
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
I'm sorry. I usually ask,
No,
but
it's
that was
good.
one that didn't. I'm like, oh, it just seems Hop.
It's
Okay.
like Hoppy, Bunny,
Hoppy. Sounds good.
Hoppy.
Okay. Take 4, I guess. Hi, I'm Lisa Singer. I am the Senior Director of Event Programming at MediaPost, and this is Brand Insider BTS, where I get to talk to some of the most influential women marketers today. And with me is Stephanie Hoppe. She is the CMO of Cicis Pizza. Hey, Stephanie.
Hey, Lisa, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen you since last month in Austin, right, for TV and video.
That's right, Austin. That seems like eons ago. It's been
I
a really
know.
busy month.
Actually, it's not even last month. We're still in March, aren't we?
Dang.
It goes
We're moving
by
too
like,
fast.
yeah, it seems forever ago. But you were awesome. I have to say, everyone was like amazed with everything that you guys were sharing. You and Kay, it was a really good presentation. So
Thank you. Kay is fabulous. We had a lot of fun. It's a great story,
yeah,
and we're very transparent. That's just how we roll.
yeah.
And it was a great conference. The content was outstanding, and what a wonderful experience.
Oh, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And, we obviously enjoyed having you guys there. And, we should be even more impressed now finding out that you actually were chosen as Pizza Marketplace's top 100 movers and shakers. So congratulations on that. So talk
Thank
about that
you.
and what that means.
Sure. We were nominated. Hundreds of people submit applications, and we went to Vegas yesterday, and we found out that Cece's Endless Pizza Abilities was #1 in the category of marketing campaigns. Didn't expect that. I was happy to be honored as one of the top 15 of the 100, but
Uh-huh.
then they announced #1, and it's been a great effort with Three-Headed Monster, KSM, and the CC's
Yeah.
marketing team, and it was very fun. It was
Yeah. And
really,
just,
really nice recognition.
well, especially since, you came into, CC's with really a lot of transformation, wanting to really do a lot of changes and
Yeah.
shake things up, movers and shakers. So
Yep.
obviously that works. And so it just must be even that much more, mean that much more to you getting an award like this.
It is. I'm always humbled when I get that type of recognition. My team really deserved it as well. Yeah, I basically walked into a hot mess a year ago. CC's had a lot of revamping from a marketing standpoint that they needed to do. And luckily, Jeff Hetzel, the president, very supportive of marketing and enabled us to move fast. I mean, that campaign was really put up in 5 weeks.
Yeah.
So it was lightning fast, but the results, I mean, we're up 33% year over year last year. And the results like that, I've never seen anything like it in my career. And I've never had a position like this that I've enjoyed so much at any point in my career to date. So it's like everything I've done has led to this position and all the success that we're seeing.
Yeah, no, and that it's so nice to then, be recognized for it. I mean, it's a lot
Yeah,
of work. So when you put in that
it
kind of
is.
effort, it's good, but to know, it's nice to hear it from others. So that just, I think, is really nice that you were able to earn that. I want to ask you, just this is just a quick little, it's endless pizzabilities. All
Yeah.
right. So lots of different toppings for pizzas and different
Mhm.
things. So what's your favorite toppings? What's Stephanie's pizza?
My pizza would be ham, pepperoni, jalapeno.
Wow. Okay, that's a different mix. That's not,
It
not
is.
what you'd normally see together.
No, no, I kind of like it. It's kind of spicy and sweet and savory. So it's got all the different flavors. That's quite fun. It deep dish, by the way.
Deep dish. Okay.
Deep
Yeah.
dish.
So,
Cece's
well,
deep dish is phenomenal.
so all right. So this actually leads into another thing that I want to ask you. And so you said spicy, sweet, and savory. So okay. So part of when you first came on to CC's, one of the, is obviously huge brand awareness, and you created this character, very outlandish character. What's CC Panzini? Oh,
CC Pizzini.
Panzini,
Yep,
CC
Pizzini.
Panzini.
CC.
And is it, I'm saying that, okay, I'm saying that right. Yes, CC Panzini.
Yes,
Okay,
you
cool.
got it.
So very outlandish character, something just out of the norm of what CC's has done in the past. So,
Yeah.
all right, I'm asking you to create your own character or spokesperson for Stephanie Hoppe. So what would that look like? And, what would you want to convey to people so they really know the real Stephanie?
The real Stephanie. I think it would be a comet, and it's about sparking joy, creating
Really?
delight, just a burst of energy. It's like boom.
Yeah.
So that would be it would be a superhero of just positivity and just lots of light and sparkles. Maybe
Yeah.
even a couple wings on my back so I could fly really fast. So like a really smart Tinkerbell, I guess.
I was going to say, I love that you threw in Tinkerbell because you can't tell by seeing Stephanie on this, but very petite woman with huge energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just if you had seen her on stage, you would get why she's saying this rocket and sparkling, and because you do exude all of that. I mean, not only on stage but in person. So that's like right on, perfect description of
Excellent.
the character piece. So we'll
Great
let them go
question.
through. I will approve it. I will approve that that creative. But in talking about your career, I mean, you've been in the QSR restaurant business for more than 20 years.
Mhm.
And it's really ranged from like Lone Star Steakhouse, so Chili's and Red Robin. And you actually even were at 7-Eleven, where
Mhm.
you worked a number of years, and then you went on to be their VP of marketing. And so, or their interim VP of marketing, but
Yeah.
still all of these different careers, but very much in the restaurant industry, at least that I'm seeing. Was that when you graduated, when you were getting out of school, or even just during that senior year? What were you aspiring for? Like, how did you see your career going? And talk about that and that path, and then how it evolved to where you are here at CMO at Cicis.
Sure. Senior year in college, I was a theater major.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was going to be an actress.
Wow.
Although deep down, I knew I really didn't want to be an actress, but I had to go to Chicago for a year and experience that lifestyle to really realize that that just wasn't for me. But what I did do right after college is I went to Alaska to work at a resort, and I became a state certified Alaskan salmon judge. And
Wait, a state certified Alaskan what?
I was an certified Alaskan salmon judge because we
Salmon?
ran a
Okay.
tournament, and I had to know the difference between a coho, a pink, and a king or a silver. So little known fact. But fast forward is I was working in the marketing team, and I ended up working full time for Waterfall Resort. When I was in college, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And Chuck Baird was my first boss out of college at Waterfall Resort. He's still there. He asked me a question, and it was pivotal. It was, Steph, what kind of lifestyle do you want? And my answer was, what's a lifestyle? I didn't know what a lifestyle was. I was from Iowa, small town in Iowa. So, do you like to travel? What do you like to do? And it was interesting to start thinking about what I love to do. And I got into the restaurant space is really theater. It's a show. Somebody comes in, they escape for an hour, they have a meal, they forget all their troubles, and then they go back home. But for that time that they're in the restaurant, you have the ability to transform their day.
Mhm.
So there was a ton of parallels from theater to marketing that just made so much sense. So I ended up getting into the restaurant marketing back with Baker Square back in the late 90s, and really felt the love of food innovation, brand. I found my home, and I knew I needed to get an advanced degree, because at that point it's like, okay, by the time I'm 40 years old, I want to be a VP.
Mhm.
That was my goal. So how do I do that? Well, one, you go get an MBA. So working full time, getting my MBA, did that, got that done, and ended up going over to Rock Bottom and was a director of marketing there. That was also where I met my husband. He interviewed me.
Really?
He was the president of the franchise division of Old Chicago, and they said, "Oh, you're going to be working with Hoppe, so you should talk to him." Little did I know I would get the job and the husband. So that was that was one of the best parts of that job. But
Uh-huh.
it just
Nice perk.
evolved into what's that?
Nice perk.
Great perk, still going. It's awesome. But I got this call from Chili's, and we were up in Boulder, and then Chili's called and said they needed a director of beverage, and I'm like, I'm a marketing person, not a beverage person, but they wanted someone with marketing. So I said, hey, I'm your person. So I got the job, and we moved back down to Dallas, and I just really got involved in the innovation piece. I had lots of roles while I was at Chili's. There was a lot of change going on. So early in my career, it was like you zig, you zag, you adapt quick, and you figure things out. Never say, I don't know how to do it. You just go figure out how to do it. And then while I was at 7-Eleven, that's led to 7-Eleven, got a call to be a senior director of marketing. That was my first role at 7-Eleven, was 07 to 011. And I'm like, Slurpee, I get to run Slurpee? Who doesn't love a good Slurpee? This is going to be so much fun. But 7-Eleven was very important in my career because it taught me discipline. They are disciplined at 7-Eleven. You have got to have your facts. If you do not have your facts, if you do not have a business case, you will be dead in the water. You need to know your facts. And people have so many opinions on food. Everybody's a food expert. Everybody's a marketing expert. So when you go back to a fact-based conversation, it can really help change the dynamic. It's not an opinion-based, but a fact-based. But that's one thing I really took away from 7-Eleven, as well as being able to multitask like nobody's business. And you worked really hard at 7-Eleven. And it was a C-store business, but you had to be agile because every 30 days you were turning over, 6,000 to 7,000 stores across the country. And it's a global brand. So it was just such good training ground. Yep. Then I ended up moving over to Texas Land and Cattle. And that was where, trust your gut. I learned that. I wanted to be a VP. So here was the VP opportunity, much smaller company. And I didn't ask some of the questions I now ask about culture, field buy-in, stability, because shortly after I joined Texas Land and Cattle, I was like, about 60 days in, I'm like, oh dear, this concept's not long for the world. There's a lot of issues, problems that I don't think they can fix, and the concept's no longer, by the way. But again, really valuable lesson. Sometimes the hardest lessons you learn the most from. But that led to Red Robin, which was a phenomenal experience. I led an innovation team of 26 people. When I joined the company, we were working like 3 months out on product innovation. When I left, it was 18 months. Introduced a $50 million category called Red Robin's Finest Burgers, which that was my goal. Denny Post, who was CMO at the time, later became president. She said, Steph, you need two things. I need an innovation process, and I need this Finest burger category rolled out by the end of the year. And when Denny asked, you say, yes, ma'am, and you go figure out how to do it. And then I had a CMO opportunity. I really hadn't had CMO on my radar. I just hadn't considered it. But Life Kitchen knocked on the door, and it was a concept I was passionate about. Health, wellness, healthy food that tasted great. I'm a yoga instructor, so that's my side gig, so to speak. So it just fits so much into my lifestyle. So we moved to Memphis.
Wow.
That was a kind of Memphis just wasn't for my husband. It was just a very different culture, and we didn't know a lot of people, but really great experience working with Life Kitchen. But then I got a call to go back to Dallas to Bar Louie. And my husband started packing the bags as soon as I got the call from Bar Louie. So we zipped back to Dallas, and I joined Bar Louie in 2016 back in Dallas. And that one, it was a tough gig, private equity held. And luckily, like I said, the 7-Eleven days came into play because I always had my facts and I had my data. And, that's again, going in and rebuilding teams. You have to strategy, structure, people. You have to have a strategy, then you figure out the structure, and then you bring in the people, and then ultimately it's the tactics. And that's just a formula that has worked really well throughout my career, because a lot of the times it's just, even with CC's, had to come in, assess. And, for the first 60 days, you have to listen, you have to learn. Take a step back, the power of the pause. That's another thing I learned.
Yeah.
Taking a moment before you react, before you make a big decision, slowing down to speed up can be pivotal and just so impactful. Taking that breath, listening, being present. If board meetings were run with those sorts, if with yoga principles, I think we'd have a very different dynamic in many boardrooms. And that's what we've brought to CC's. And the success we're seeing at CC's has been like nothing I've ever seen in a brand. And I think it's just the power of culture and people. It's so important. Relationships are everything.
Yep.
So a quick story. My biggest fear was losing my job. When I was in my early 20s, I went through a period of time where I didn't have a job. To this day, I hate mail because it meant bills, even though I'm way beyond that. But in 2018, I was let go. They wanted a change in marketing leadership. They didn't like where the sales were going, so they chose to bring on a new CMO. That was the first time in my career I had ever been let go. And it was shocking. And that was my worst fear. And it came true. But I learned so much. The importance of getting outside. You get so into the day-to-day that you forget how networking, building relationships outside of your organization, so key. And in a situation like that, you're surprised. There's some people who you never thought would be such great supporters. And then there's people you thought, wow, I thought they were really in my corner, and they weren't. It was such a great life lesson. And it took about 9 months for me to get, and that was my second time at 7-Eleven. So I transitioned as a consultant in an interim role, and then I was hired full time. And then fast forward, COVID hits, and they do layoffs.
Yeah.
Boom, again. But this time I was like, this isn't my first rodeo. I know what I need to do. I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's, you can always survive anything.
Yeah.
Nothing's ever final.
I want to say, I mean, well, there's a couple of things out of that but getting back to losing your job when
Mhm.
that was the first time, that was one of your biggest fear. But how do you take, like you said, it turned out that, you saw the value looking back on it. You see these people who came, who were you're part of your network and really there for you. And then you realize that, the truth about those who maybe weren't. But when it first happened, what did you do to sort of get yourself in that moment to be ready to reach out to these people, or do how did you get over that hump and sort of get yourself prepared, whether mentally or emotionally or however you're going to do it, and just start moving forward rather than, wanting to just maybe dig a hole and crawl into it?
Well, other than going in the fetal position and crying, you mean? Yes.
Yes. I would go in a hole, but fetal position works. Okay.
That works. It's funny. Okay, so I am very extroverted, but reaching out to people to network and all that initially was really painful for me.
Yep.
I felt like, oh, I don't want to be a burden. What do I do? And all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I can help people. I can help them network. So instead of it's all about me, I turned it around. It's how can I help you? And because I'm out networking and looking. So how can I help you? I did a lot of just free consulting, helping people solve some marketing programs and problems. And it changed the dynamic when you have the intention of, if something comes of this, great, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here to get to know you, and how could I be of service?
Yep.
And it changed everything. And it changed for me internally, and it changed the interactions. And that's when, oh, but I know somebody. Well, then I'd love to meet with them, buy them a cup of coffee. I got highly caffeinated for a 3-year period. Lots of coffees with people.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I want it when you ask, so when you turn it around to be, how can I help you? So you were reaching out to a former colleague or someone in your network to
Mhm.
say, hey, this is something I think would be good for you. Or were you doing it in a way to, okay, hire me as a consultant, or were you doing it in a way to just want to let you know? I guess some people tend to, if they have a value, sometimes they offer up their value without charging. You know what I mean? Like it's
Mhm.
just if someone says, ask for advice, you're a great writer, give me advice on this. And then you give it because they're a friend or maybe they're a colleague and you want to help them. But then you continue to do it and do it and do it. And then it's like, this is something you should be paid for. So I'm just curious, where do you draw the line for wanting to help people who you care about or, you know, are friendly with. And then, okay, now this is, I'm being taken advantage of. So, and I'm not sure if there ever became a point like that for you, but I was just curious, how did you approach it?
It's interesting. I think it's length of time that you support somebody. So when I went in initially, I just wanted to help. Wasn't even thinking about consulting, even though I ended up doing some consulting. It was the amount of time it would take. If it's a day or two here and there, no problem. But when it started to get to be high, we need 2 or 3 weeks
Hmm.
to a month. And then the hours started that's when you have a different conversation.
Yeah.
And many times with the consultant projects that I did, I went in straight in more as a hard consultant versus it evolved. I just did a lot of, because I wanted to stay active.
Yep.
So I was more than happy to help some folks because that's just putting good energy out there. Why not?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. But I do know that I've experienced it myself, and I
Mhm.
know others who have. So I was just, when you said that, I was just curious how you maneuvered that or went about it.
Right.
But I also want to back up to, you talked about, you set as a goal to be a VP by 40.
Mhm.
And so, and then the first position you took as a VP, it wasn't necessarily, it was a smaller company, but you said, okay, is that something you recommend? So if someone else has those kind of aspirations, to take that, does the title, does it, I guess, does the title matter more, like by taking that VP position in a smaller company? Or is it better to go to the bigger company? Maybe you don't get the VP position. Like, is it easier to maneuver your next job into being a VP if you've already taken that, even though you were in a smaller organization?
VP is such a hard title to get to. Yes, it's worth it. Because many folks do not want to talk to you unless you've been a VP. They won't consider you for a VP. And the bigger the company, the harder it is.
Right.
So it's even though my gut said it wasn't going to be, it could be a risky move, and it was, I got the title. And once you have the title, it's like doors open. They just do. And it didn't matter that I was at a smaller company because I ended up going to Red Robin, which was a very large
Yeah.
organization, as a VP.
Right.
So titles do matter, but you also have to take a step back and understand if you're in a big company and you love that company, is title really that important? In different parts of your career, different things are more important. So at this point in my career, I wasn't going after a CMO position. I was like, you know what? I just want to go have fun.
Hmm.
I want to find a fun gig with people I like. I'm not chasing the title anymore. Been there,
Yeah.
done that. And by the way, it's got a lot of pressure sometimes. So I'm okay with that if I don't get something like that. But then it ended up happening. But it was just, for me, culture and people are my number one priority.
Now that's what you say now, back up earlier in the career.
Not at
Not
all.
like enough after acting. But
Yeah.
but as you were in the midst of it, were those still your priorities then, or they've
Not,
evolved now?
not at all. No, my priorities were money and title. I was very aggressive in my career. I mean, I put that first. The fact that I met my husband at work kind of indicates how much I didn't go out. I was just very driven,
Yeah.
and just wanted to go from manager to director, director to, senior to VP. I was on a career path, and I would move or take a different job and work really, really hard to achieve that goal at the expense of, at times, my personal life
Yeah.
when I look back. But you learn. And things change. And so now, much more balanced. I think the yoga thing had a lot to do with that. But yeah, I think now that's why if you're young in your career, your values will change as you change. You evolve as a person. Who I was in my 20s is not who I am now.
Right.
It's different, and it's okay. It's all a part of a journey. It's an unexpected journey at times, and that saying everything happens for a reason. I'm a firm believer in that. Even the bad things that happen, all good comes of all of it. It's just part of the journey. So enjoy the journey, because
Mhm.
you're going to be here for a while. So enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, just like you said, even getting let go of your position. I mean, that all
Mhm.
brought you to where you are now. And so as you said, everything happens kind of. I mean, I personally do believe everything happens for a reason. I mean, you don't
Mhm.
necessarily understand the the reasoning behind it when you're going through it, but
Mhm.
I think it gets you to the next place where you're supposed to be. But to take away, it's yes, everything, but I don't like saying it in that sense because there is control too. It's how you dealt with your loss
Mhm.
is what then brought you to where you are, as opposed to if you did go in that fetal position and stay there, then there's a difference. So it's a combination of will and what's just going to happen. And so I think that's very important, whatever level you're at in your career.
It is. It's really important.
Yeah. No. Well, so I want to ask you, is there something, and at the top, I asked you sort of to describe what your spokesperson would be. And do you think that people, like when people first meet you, they see that they can't not? I mean, I just the few times we've met, I saw what you just described. But is there something that people get wrong about you? And what would that be? Is there something that people assume about you, and it's just just not the case at all?
Gosh, I think um, I've been told that I can scare people. I'm
I
like,
could actually see
what?
that.
What? Because when I get into a mode where when we're solving a problem or there's something, I went through some executive coaching. This is where I learned this with 7-Eleven. There was an
Mhm.
exercise where you only had so much time to solve a problem. And I go into mode of get this, we're going to get this done.
Mhm.
And it's boom, 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 boom. Do you have that? Do we got this? And I scared the moderators. And I'm like, oh, okay, you need to step back and take a pause. And it's the tone and all of that. So it's just, I wasn't aware. So now I'm more aware that at times when it goes into a solve mode or a deep move mode,
Mhm.
watch the intensity because your team members could get scared.
Yeah.
So I think that's changed a lot, but I still can go into intense mode
Well,
and I
I
just get
mean,
things done.
hopefully that doesn't sound, but I mean, you're a spitfire, to be honest. Like, I mean, I think that's definitely a way to describe you, in terms of you just have this energy and you're confident. So all of those things I can understand if you were, as you said, in that certain mode or in that focus
Mhm.
where you can kind of just keep going, going, going. And it might, I don't know if it would be fearful, like make me afraid, but I could almost be intimidated to be like, okay, like I can understand that. It's all right, Stephanie, whatever you want, like
Yeah,
so.
yeah, let's do this. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
So
I'm sometimes painfully honest. I'm very transparent. It's just easier that way.
mhm,
Uh, always respectful. Always respectful. That's the other thing. It's a relationship, even especially like agencies, vendors. It's a partnership. I really believe in a culture of partnership and innovation that both parties can always win. And it just fosters a whole different again relationship when you have that attitude of mutual success versus my brand has to succeed at any cost and don't care what happens to you and your agency and your fees, but I'm going to get this done. That's just not how it works.
mhm.
It's got to be something that works for the entire organism for it really to be healthy.
Yeah. No, and I agree. And so talking about in the sense that obviously someone just starting out, because the QSR industry, first of all, it was at one point more male dominated. And at this point, it's so not. It's, like,
Mhm.
we see at the QSR events that we do, so many women like yourself in senior positions. So it's really changing. And I feel from talking with many of you that the dynamic or the atmosphere in these organizations have changed as well, or have evolved. So if a younger woman, even your younger self, coming to you looking for advice to sort of navigate going to the QSR world and maybe wanting to be in a position like yourself, how do you sort of advise them? What would you say to your younger self, the post acting self, but the
Post stuff, yes. Um, and actually, I do get this advice because I'm a big believer in mentoring. And it's when you're early in your career, be a problem solver, not a problem giver. So many younger people these days, there's a sense of entitlement that can come through, and that hi, I get my position, and how soon will I get promoted?
yeah,
Or I should be running the company in a year. It's just a different mindset. But if you can bring solutions to problems, be proactive, and ask questions. Ask questions, ask for opportunity. Just ask.
Mhm.
And it's if you have initiative and talent and will, I'll take will over skill any day. I can build skills. I can't build will. And I was just talking to a young lady the other day, and she had so much passion. She's like, I don't have any experience. I said, well, you set up you took me to coffee and we're having this conversation. The fact that you're now networking, you've got skills and will, both. You are a gem. She followed up with a handwritten thank you note. I'm like, girl, here's some people you need to talk to.
Yeah.
You absolutely need to talk to these people, because here's how you sell yourself, because that's what this is. And you have to find the right match. And it's that will and the ability to get things done and just keep moving and keeping a positive attitude and just keep that perspective
Mhm.
is what we'll call it priceless.
Yeah. No, I agree. What about the person changing, and woman or man, changing careers midstream? So they're not that 22-year-old just out of college, and would you give them that same kind of advice? Do you think it would work at an older age?
Yeah, I think that problem solver is key. I think the ability to think on your feet and adapt as needed. We're in a time where agility is so important, and the ability to make decisions is so important. We get so much data. I think we over-engineer data into mediocrity. Sometimes it's good just to trust your gut.
Mhm.
If you're doing a career change, understand why you're doing that change and what are the benefits. I always put things on paper, the pros and cons, because I'm a visual, I need to see that.
Yep.
But if you're going for a career change, why was that? Why is it? Why is it important? And then go for it. You may have to learn new skills. You may have to do a lateral position, like changing industries, for instance. I moved from restaurant to C-store, different industries.
Yep.
But many times in marketing, especially, I went to a D2C company, Wild Alaskan company, for a period of time. And they were like, you don't have D2C experience. I go, but I have marketing experience. So a virtual experience and an inside the four walls experience, a lot of parallels.
Yeah.
So we can do this. We can figure this out. So skills transfer across verticals. And then it's just, again, it's that will to be just a partner for whomever you're reporting to or the team. I prefer team, that not direct reports and all that. It's like team collaboration. How do we work together and support each other? And if you're a team player and proactive, that's just gold.
Yeah.
It's gold.
No, I agree. And I want to end it with a little bit getting back to you, Stephanie. First of all, I can't overlook your yoga instructor. So where did that come about?
Oh, yeah. Well, after I got laid off during the pandemic. So I had time. So I got certified to teach hot yoga. And I'd been taking yoga for 15, 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
And my retirement plan is to teach yoga. So I was like, hey, I'm going to jumpstart my retirement. I might as well get certified. By the way, I highly recommend yoga training during a international pandemic, global pandemic, because you have 6 hours of yoga, meditation, all sorts of training. So I was just focused on that. And by the way, I was more intimidated getting certified to teach yoga than presenting in a boardroom with 26 board of directors. For some reason, that teaching yoga, because you have people's safety in the room, and there's so much going on and what you need to understand and do. But again, if you're observant, listen, kind, that all just translates into the yoga experience. I'm teaching actually this weekend. I teach once a month because I love it. And then someday I'll probably teach more. But it's changed the way I approach my business life as well as my personal life.
What have you picked up from it? What do you do differently? So what in terms of just your personality or how you handle situations?
I don't get as stressed. You've always had the pressure of sales performance, all these things, and you can do what you can do, and then you have to let it go. When you go home, you have to take time to just drop that piece and focus in on your personal life, your family, and all of that, and really it's being present.
Mhm.
Because I was always, okay, I'm thinking about what I have to do tomorrow or the next day. So I'm missing my dinner with my husband.
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, not always, still not perfect, never not perfect, but much better at really staying in the moment and enjoying the time. And then the next day you go to work, focus,
Mhm.
get her done. But also, just being observant, making sure your team members are taken care of. It's the ability, listening is hard. It's a hard skill to learn. We're not geared that way. We're geared to already be answering the question before it's even asked.
Yeah.
It's just the way we're geared in this society, and we're so immediate gratification.
Yeah.
And yoga teaches you that you settle, stillness allows for better thinking, better decision making. And again, it's that power of the pause. It's magical.
Yeah. And not always easy. It's
Mm-mm.
comfort. Like, it's almost like they even say that that's a challenge. Like, who talks first? Like, almost like those men in power know when to, like, not, they can hold back and not say it. And women, I mean, anyone, but that was sort of the old, like, saying. And I do think it's sometimes difficult here. Having silence sometimes is very difficult to, be a part of it. You feel this urge to just talk about something.
Mhm. Yep. I think I wish everybody would just take a yoga class. Although I tell you what, the first time I did it, I hated it. It was
Have to give it
hard.
another shot. I have to say, my friend who's as passionate about hot yoga as you are, took me, and it was like an hour and a half class. Within an hour, I'm like, I was sweating so much, which I hate. And I'm just like, I'm not the most flexible person. So I was just miserable. I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta go. And I've never been back. And she keeps trying to get me, like, I guess they have like little beginner things and whatever, like I went to one of her classes. So I'm wanting to go back to it because she gets so much out of it. But yeah, I was one of those people.
I highly recommend a 45-minute class and maybe not too hot.
Yeah, that's
I didn't hear,
definitely.
hot yoga. It's hard. It's
So I
hard.
didn't mean to interrupt. So when you started, you
No,
didn't like it. How did you then? Why did you go back?
well, it was so hot. And I was red for an hour and a half after my first class, and I didn't feel great. And someone said, before you feel hot and tired, lay down. You're going to have to pace yourself. We have football players, athletes that come in here and they can't do a hot yoga class. So ease into the practice. So it's another lesson, ease into something.
Mm-hmm.
Don't power through. Powering through doesn't always work.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to ease. And so when I eased into the practice and allowed myself to take breaks, all of a sudden I was like, oh, I can do this. Oh, this feels great. Oh, you know what? I really like this now. But I had to have somebody say, you know what? Slow down. Just ease into it.
Yeah.
And it was very different. So I would recommend they say ease, ease into it.
5 minutes first. Then we'll go from there.
That's okay. That's good.
Well, I will take your advice, Stephanie, and thank you so much today. This was such a great conversation. So I really appreciate you doing this with me.
Oh, no, it's been fun. Thank you so much for the opportunity. As always, I really like chatting with you, Lisa.
Good. Well, thank you. And thank you for watching. And as I always say, if you have a marketer, a woman marketer in mind that you want to hear more about or learn more about, please let me know and I will do my best to get her. So thanks again for watching. And Stephanie, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.